Well, now, guys, that we are officially in charge of college football, this is how it's going to work. ASU is going to go 0-12, and right after they go 0-12, we implement this new rule. The college football becomes a NBA, MLB, NFL draft system, where ASU just went 0-12, but they now have the number one pick when it comes to recruits. So now we're on the clock, and we have the number one pick for whatever recruit we want.
Hey guys, so this is my college football draft, pretty much, and this is only the first round. It would take you too much to fill every single round. So like I kicked Rutgers and another team out. I forget which one it was, and then Eastern Washington and James Madison come up. So it is North Dakota State. And I kicked the third team. I don't remember who it was. And then, pretty much Idaho dropped. So I brought in North Dakota State. Rutgers and another team dropped. So I brought in Eastern Washington and James Madison. So here's how it worked. Let's say, for example, if you heard what the voice record said, it had ASU at 0-12 with the number one pick of any offense, defense, special team recruit of any, so like it's created, so it's like 5 rounds of every single FBS team. I didn't count FCS because if not, that would be too much. And it would work something like this. First of all, there's a pick for every position. For example, let's say ASU is on the clock right now. It would land an offense player, a defense player, a special teams player, of anyone they wanted. So I did a sim league and I went something like this. And for example, Michigan State's picking 52nd, Navy's picking 35th, etc., etc. Oregon State is going to pick 68th, Virginia Tech 93rd, Baylor 112th, and UCLA, since, no joke, they won the national championship, no joke, they're going to have the 130th pick, the last pick in the first round, and every single round after that, except if there's a trade. But I mean, no joke, UCLA won the sim league that I had made. And no, I did not control UCLA at that time. I just did the sim league and they came out on top somehow. I mean, I don't know it either, but okay. And so it starts off like this with ASU, the number one pick after finishing 0-12, getting to grow 3 picks before the 2 newcomers, which don't have a record. James Madison and Eastern Washington, 2nd and 3rd, respectively, would go picking an offensive, defensive, special teams player. 1 player per all 3, pretty much since there are 5 rounds, you're going to end up with 15 players. 1 for each category as you selected. And also, so there's no trades unless, you can trade, but it would have to be in the same round. You can't ask for the first round to the 5th round or second round to the 3rd round, etc. Unless you're going to change a player for a pick. Unless that. Otherwise, there's no trades. And there's also, so every draft round lasts 3 days for it to go for a whole month, or 5 days if we need to go like that. From March 1st, or just an assumption, to March 31st. As an assumption, and these are the rules. Number 1, you can't. So rule number 1, you can't trade if you have any of the following qualities. You already picked an offense player, defense player, and a special teams player. Well, both teams involved already picked in that round. You traded in the previous round to a team from the same conference as the other team, or vice versa. And you can't make a trade if one of the 2 teams involved already made a trade with another already made a trade in that round, pretty much. Rule number 2, it's a requirement. You have to pick an offense player, a defense player, and a special teams player to end with 15 players after the draft. Did 5 draft rounds, 3 recruits per round, and 15 players. Without trades, you have to get 15 players. Without trades. Okay. The next rule is you have to start at least 5 of those players in at least one of your next 3 games. Another rule is that if you don't select a player, you have to in the time frame you have to select a player before 32 picks pass, which means which means around 96 players off the board. Before that, you have to make your 3 picks. Otherwise, that's a forfeited round. And also, if you can't, if you trade for picks, for example, you have to fulfill it in the course of 32 rounds. Example, let's say Vanderbilt trades with Eastern Michigan, but Vanderbilt doesn't pick immediately when its turn comes. It has 32 turns to fulfill that trade, otherwise it's a forfeited pick. And also, any violation of these rules will result in a mandatory game at North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome. And if North Dakota State breaks the rule, that's a mandatory game at Bryant-Denny, Alabama. And I want to know what your thoughts about it, how it looks, and I'll see you around.